Welcome back, my beautiful deluded disciples, to another episode of POV Drama in Real Life, where delusion isn't denial, it's divine intuition. Today I spiral into the dreamlike disaster that is Donnie Darko. This movie didn't just move me, it split me open. I cried. I actually had a full breakdown after I finished watching it. My bones hummed, and my third eye developed seasonal depression. This episode is for the empaths, the overthinkers, the emotionally sentient, and the girls, gays, and days who've always felt too much for this world. So grab your support beverage, your incense, and your backup journal. We're diving in. Solar plexus activation, Donnie and me. The solar plexus chakra, Manipura, is the sun at your center. It governs self-worth, personal power, and identity. When blocked, you shrink. When overactive, you grasp. You micromanage fate, you spiral into control instead of surrender. And Donnie, he is Manipura in crisis. He's repressed, volatile, bursting at the seams. But then, something shifts. At first, I thought the glowy chest wound things were just the movie's weirdness, but when I paid close attention to his emotions, I realized his energy was shifting. Donnie wasn't just a moody teen, he was an empath in revolt. He wasn't breaking down, he was breaking open. Every outburst, every silence, every act of rebellion was his solar plexus screaming for recognition. He wasn't power hungry, he was awakening. And the wildest part? That's exactly how spiritual awakening feels. It's messy, it's lonely. People call you crazy, rude, too much, when really your spirit is just to allow for the box they're trying to lock you in. I know that box very well. I've lived in it. I've toned myself down, swallowed my own intensity so I wouldn't scare anyone off. But Donnie, he reminded me that we do not need to be agreeable empaths. We need dangerous ones, wild ones, the kind who cry and rage and still choose love. Because Donnie wasn't mad, he was awake. And watching him, I couldn't shake the feeling that his story wasn't just some random chaos. It was a map, a pattern, like he was walking through the exact stages of awakening people whisper about in those late night YouTube rabbit holes. Typo's ego death spiral. While I was mid-spiral, my friend Typo hit me up with the most soul-snatching take I've ever received. They said, Donnie's story is the tragedy of knowing too much, of seeing your fate and rejecting it out of love. Everyone mocked him, misunderstood him, but Donnie still chose to protect them. That's not insanity. That's sacred ego death. I recently watched a YouTube video about the 7 stages of spiritual awakening. The 7 stages are the sleepwalker, the ego crack, the awakening, the search, the dark night, the integration, and oneness. Once I fully absorbed all the information, it finally clicked to me. Tell me Donnie didn't walk through every single one of these. First, the sleepwalker. We literally meet Donnie stumbling at night, unaware of where he is. And then the ego crack comes. His whole angsty teen act wasn't rebellion, it was fracture. He tried on everything: rage, silence, arrogance, despair, and none of it fit. And then came the awakening, meeting Frank, realizing reality isn't as stable as everyone swears it is. Suddenly, time travel isn't sci-fi fluff. It's a mirror of his own fragmentation. From there, he hits the search. He's searching, questioning, interrogating teachers, devouring books, desperate to pin down answers. But all that seeking burns him out. And finally, he falls into the dark night, alone, labeled crazy. There's the scene where Donnie actually gets hypnotized by his therapist. I couldn't contain my emotions in there because there he was crying, saying that he owes Frank his life. He will do whatever Frank tells him to do because he saved his life. And here we start recognizing that he views Frank both as a savior and a curse. And this just reinforces the thought that he really was stuck in the dark night because he had nobody around except for this bunny that's inside of his mind. After all this comes the integration. His solar plexus overfires, trying to force his revelations onto others, trying to control what cannot be controlled. The consequences of this are his integration, and it is brutal. His girlfriend dies, Frank dies, his entire timeline collapses. Yet, in that collapse, clarity, and finally, he reaches oneness. That laugh before the jet engine falls, that wasn't madness, that was acceptance, that was mastery. Donnie walked all 7 stages in 28 days, something people spend their whole lives trying to achieve. He didn't die because he lost, he transcended because he saw too much and still chose love. And the cruel beauty of it all is that no one around him will ever know what he did. That kind of anonymous sacrifice, that's divinity, that's spiritual martyrdom. That's why my chest ached physically while watching it. The rabbit is not what it seems. Let's talk about Frank, the terrifying bunny who looked like he escaped an abandoned Chuck E. Cheese. Why a rabbit? Because rabbits symbolize rebirth, illusion, time, in fear. They burrow, they vanish, they multiply in the dark. But Frank wasn't just creepy. Okay, he was hella creepy, but point is, he was Donnie's shadow guide, his spirit's trickster, the one who dragged him through every stage of awakening. In the sleepwalker stage, Frank lured him out of his bed. In the ego crack, Frank whispered chaos, forcing Donnie to see that the life he'd been handed wasn't enough. During the awakening stage, Frank split reality open. In this search, he fed Donnie riddles instead of answers, driving him deeper. And in the dark night, Frank stood over him like both executioner and savior. And then came the line, the prophecy, the timestamp burned into every Donnie Darko fan's brain. I actually might want to tattoo this because it's really iconic. 28 days, 6 hours, 42 minutes, and 12 seconds. That is when the world will end. But it wasn't the end of the world, it was the end of Donnie's world. The exact window he had to complete his initiation. Frank wasn't there to comfort him, he was there to pace him, to terrify him into readiness. That's divine trickster energy. The guide who looks like a monster because growth always does at first. And personally, bunnies and animal masks in horror still freak me out. Between Your Next and that weird ass film where a man eats a rabbit in a white room, I have been spiritually, emotionally, mentally, just everything Kali scarred. But Frank, he became the face of intuition for me because intuition doesn't always feel soft. Sometimes it shows up with sharp teeth and a ticking clock. The download, what I learned. This movie cracked open my core, like literally, and from those cracks, light poured out. Donnie reminded me that energy is contagious. If you vibrate in chaos, you will infect everyone around you. But when you vibrate in truth, you create alignment, you create healing. You don't have to be agreeable to be good. You don't have to be nice to be kind. Donnie didn't sponge up everything he was told. He chose what to absorb. That's wisdom. That's how you stay sensitive and strong. That wasn't just a film. It was a prophecy. Rebirth is a choice. So yeah, watch Donnie Darko again, but not with your eyes, with your soul. Because in a way, we're all in our own little countdowns, not to the end of the world, but to the end of who we were, to the moment we finally awaken. To my fellow empaths, your intensity is sacred. Your chaos is communication. Do not shrink and do not mute yourself. Be the glitch, be the weird girl, be the screaming soul in a room full of people whispering. And when the world tells you to calm down, put on your metaphorical bunny mask and step into the void and just laugh. Because choosing to be real in a fake world, that's rebellion, that's resurrection, that's complete oneness. If this episode cracked something open in you, if you felt seen, shaken, spiritually slapped, then baby, this is your cue. Subscribe to the channel, follow me on Ko-Fi to unlock exclusive chaos, poems, reflection, and spell level rants. Want your own soul snatched into a custom poem? My Fiverr commissions are open. Choose your flavor, choose your spiral, choose you. Links are in the description. Your Delulu priestess thanks you. And if you really felt this in your solar plexus, share this episode with someone whose intensity has been called too much. Tell them, too much is divine. Signed, Her Most Unruly Holiness, High Priestess of the Cult of Conscious, Saint of Spirals and Overanalysis, Mange, aka your favorite emotionally intelligent menace.